The Prince George's police chief takes to the airwaves to talk about the recent wave of teen violence in the county. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Sonia Shrivastava. Chief Mark McGaugh says the department has seen a 300% rise in the number of tips being called into the Crime Solvers line. Today, the chief appeared on WTOP radio to talk about the recent rash of violence that has taken the lives of 6 high school students.
3 of the region's top police leaders, including Prince George's own Mark McGaugh, Thomas MANGER from Montgomery County, and Kathy Lanier from the district, all appeared on Ask the Chief this morning on WTOP.
Unfortunately, the headlines this year have come out of Prince George's County, where 6 high schoolers have been killed.
The chief says the recent rash of violence involving young people has affected everyone in the county.
Anytime you have 6 young people killed in the school year, I mean, it's traumatic for us as a police department. We've closed 4 of those, which has helped us bring a little bit of peace to the community, but we still have 2 more cases that we're actively investigating. We have potential leads in both cases, and I'm confident that both will close successfully.
For the last 3 years, Prince George's has worked side by side with Montgomery County on a positive youth development program, especially in areas where the two share a border, like Langley Park.
We've got a center down in Langley Park that serves both kids from Montgomery and Prince George's. It helps them, it gives them job counseling, helps them with school stuff, and basically it's providing guidance and the right kind of influence.
The joint initiative with Montgomery County in Langley Park along New Hampshire Avenue has paid tremendous dividends over the years for us.
The problem now is that the program is run from federal funds and money might soon run out.
Across the country, I mean, federal money is not there. So it is a concern, but it's something that we have to deal with, especially on a community level. We've got to sustain these programs, and we'll find a way to do it.
McGaugh says the issue of violence can be solved with conflict resolution and by putting resource officers at every school.
When I first came in, the police department wasn't in the high schools, and I fought to get us back in the high schools. We've since expanded that to middle schools, not every middle school, but we've extended the SROs, 8 different SROs that handle middle schools, but we need to, in my opinion, continue to address those issues.
Now, there have been 19 homicides so far this year. There were 12 last year around this time.
State senators approve a measure to repeal the death penalty in Maryland. Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown applauded members of the Senate for passing the legislation on Wednesday. In a statement, Brown says repealing capital punishment is the only way to protect the lives of wrongly convicted Marylanders. The bill now moves to the House of Delegates, where several local legislators say they expect it to pass.
Sort of doesn't really serve any useful function. It's not a deterrent, and it wastes incredible amounts of resources. And I can say as a prosecutor, it actually makes it harder to prosecute a case rather than easier.
It is very important to the African Americans because we have more African Americans on death row and more of them convicted, and we just need this bill, fairness for all.
And lawmakers who support the death penalty say if the measure passes, citizens could petition to put the issue on the 2014 ballot and let voters decide. Well, what if in the next election you could vote by mail? That may not be a far-off idea. A Senate committee considering a bill on the issue met in Annapolis today, and Denise Douglas has the details.
You remember the long lines during the presidential election and all of the headaches that they caused. Imagine being able to bypass that and vote by mail. A hearing being held right behind those doors in the Senate Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee is considering just that. Lawmakers discuss how it would be conducted by local boards of elections and what you, the voter, would have to do. While it no doubt would save you time and local jurisdictions money, voting by mail also raises questions about fraud and other issues.
The processes are the same. You would give the same documentation, and it tells you that if you don't have a picture ID and you don't have a valid address on it, then you substitute these items to verify who you are. So nothing has changed. If you really want to question something, eventually I believe that we'll probably be voting by internet. Now, we have some security concerns relevant to that, but they're always going to say fraud, you know, even though you have the same process, the same checks and balances.
Let me point out that this would be an alternative to traditional forms of voting. It would not replace them. Currently, Oregon and Washington allow all elections to be conducted by mail, and there are 17 states, including Florida and New Jersey, that allow some elections to be held by mail. I'm Denise Douglas in Annapolis, CTV News.
Well, did you know that more than 500,000 Marylanders survive on a $15,000 annual income? That's according to Raise Maryland, a group that advocates for higher wages. Lawmakers in Annapolis held a hearing on a bill today that would hike the state's minimum wage. The legislation would require that full-time workers be paid at least $10 an hour by 2015. Senator Rob Gargiola is one of the sponsors.
First, it's an anti-poverty bill because it does help lift people out of poverty that are working full-time, but they're still below the poverty line. But it's an economic development bill in that we're putting money in workers' hands, working middle-class families' hands, and they're going to be spending that in the state.
It will add about $750 million to the wages of low-income workers in the state, and that will generate about $500 million in spending and create about 4,000 jobs. And there will be about 500,000 workers who will get this increase in wage.
LANA Stewart backs the minimum wage increase. She says it would change her life for the better.
My biggest challenge is my health benefits, trying to pay and keep up with my health, trying to pay out of pocket. I can't afford to go to the hospital or the doctors like I normally would have if I had health insurance. I mean, I have it, but it's not enough.
You're obviously pretty hopeful that this bill does pass.
Yes, it needs to pass. We need it not only for me, for other people and families.
19 states and the District of Columbia pay a higher minimum wage than Maryland.